Hello, my name is Nithya Chetty from the National Research Foundation, and I'm here to talk with you briefly about developments with the NASSP program, that's the South African National Astrophysics and Space Science Program, which is a pre-doctoral program focused on honors level training and master's level training, and has been in existence for the past 10 years or so. This has been, in our opinion, a very successful program, but not without some controversies, as highlighted by the review of NASSP of 2012 and also by the DST Astronomy Desk. The National Research Foundation has been working closely with the NASSP Steering Committee, chaired by Professor Roy Booth, over recent times to develop and improve structure for NASSP, and we've been specifically working on a new constitution for NASSP. So the purpose of my brief address then is just to talk you through some of the aspects of the new draft constitution, with a view to getting your support and your input for the new concepts that we're developing within the National Research Foundation. Ultimately, the constitution will be in the hands of the steering committee to manage. So the steering committee and the National Research Foundation will be the custodians of this document, but we do really want the document to belong to the people, so to speak. It ought to have the full support of the broad South African astronomy community for this to work for at least a decade into the future. The first recommendation of the review of 2012 asked specifically for an improved governance structure for NASSP, and that now is being dealt with by the development of the Constitution. The second recommendation spoke to broadening the scope of NASSP and specifically developing an additional node for NASSP in the so-called north of South Africa. The steering committee had an open process that called for bids to host an additional node for NASSP, and in an independent process, both UKZN and the Northwest University came out as very strong contenders for hosting an additional node for NASSP. In the end, the steering committee, with support of the National Research Foundation, has accepted that we will work toward 2 additional nodes for NASSP. And the NASSP Constitution now is being written in a manner that is fairly neutral and very open. It is an enabling document that ensures that we keep open the possibility of even additional nodes being developed. For example, the Sol Plaatje University, that is the new university that's being developed in the Northern Cape, in Kimberley, will have a vested interest in astronomy, and there's no reason why we cannot have an additional node that is developed there, perhaps focused more on engineering and technical training. So I do want to say then that we are broadening the understanding of NASSP as a human capacity development program to include additional geographical nodes, not necessarily only located within South Africa, but also possibly and very likely in the future located north of our boundaries in an African country north of us, but also to include training beyond astronomy as a research endeavor, including technical and engineering training. So in my view, the future of NASSP is very strong and very exciting. And NASSP has the strongest support from within the National Research Foundation. We continue with our deliberations within the Department of Science and Technology to ensure that we are able to secure the requisite funding to enable NASSP to grow in this manner. But in order that we increase our foreign African intake, we're going to be appealing to European funding sources, in particular to Brussels, and that's the African European Radio Astronomy Platform, to ensure that adequate funding is being channeled toward quality human capacity development, not just only in radio astronomy, but broadly in the multi-wavelength context for astronomy generally. Because of our very, very wide-ranging interests in astronomy within South Africa, we have optical astronomy, in addition to radio astronomy, of course, and in Namibia with the gamma ray telescopes that exist there, and also with the hope that the CTA will come to Namibia, we have a real interest in developing astronomy very broadly within the multi-wavelength context. The third recommendation of the review of 2012 focused on the so-called extended honors program, which is now called the postgraduate bridging program. And in my discussions with DST, there has been the costs of this program have been highlighted, and I just want to communicate to those individuals who are involved in the hosting of the postgraduate bridging program that we will now be looking very carefully at the costs that are associated with this program, with a view to ensuring that it is cost effective, because this was one point that was highlighted by the Fritz Hahner review of 2012. Now let me get very quickly down to the nitty-gritty of the NASSP constitution, and in particular the essence of the structure that we are proposing. It is still in draft form, of course, and it is open to debate and discussion within the community, and we're not about to finalize this soon, because we really do want to have a very open, transparent and consultative process that involves and considers all of the voices, the pertinent voices in broad South African astronomy community. We will be taking this discussion to an astronomy town meeting that we're planning sometime in the middle of the year. The date of that has not been firmly decided on. We will announce that date very soon, and that town meeting will be focused mostly on the long-term strategic plan that has emerged from the DST astronomy desk. We will also take this conversation on the new draft constitution for NASSP to the Astronomy Advisory Council and get their input. We will then also have final deliberations within the NRF before we finalize the constitution and take this to the Department of Science and Technology as a community view on how we wish to have the NASSP program structured in South Africa. Now, the idea behind NASSP is not an altogether controversial idea. It is a very simple one and is easily understood by many, and that is that we have a number of physics departments in South Africa. Not all of these physics departments are in a position to mount a fully fledged honors program in astronomy. Astronomy in many of these physics departments just amounts to teaching one or two additional modules, perhaps including an astronomy-related project at the honors level. If we were going to be teaching a fully fledged honors program in astronomy, it makes eminent sense that we locate those students that are interested in pursuing such courses to a single location and to draw on the expertise that resides around the country to make this happen. Easier said than done, of course, because in the moment you start developing a governance system around such a set of ideas, then there are all sorts of contestations around resources and issues that emerge that are fairly well known within the South African community. NASSP has at times been accused of so-called poaching students from other institutions and gaining all of the credits at the host institution. We now want to move dramatically away from that. But we've got to keep in mind that to host a NASSP program, it does require considerable resources that the host institution has to provide. And so we are working now toward a scheme where we have a careful accounting of the resources that are contributed toward hosting a program, and in return then there are certain benefits that come from that. So let me get to the very crux of the model that we are promoting or proposing from within the National Research Foundation. Firstly, we are defining a so-called host institution, which is pretty much along the lines of what we've had for the past 10 years. The host was at the University of Cape Town, and the steering committee has now approved that that UCT will continue to be a host in this NASSP system. The host will basically provide the infrastructure and will locate the actual program, the teaching program for honors, and also the teaching program at the master's level. In addition, of course, the steering committee has identified the UKZN and Northwest University, which includes both Potchefstroom and Mafeking, as the two additional hosting institutions. We are saying that in order that you be a host, we are guaranteeing you to have a minimum of 60% of the honors level bursaries allocated to the host institution. So very naturally then the question arises, what happens with the other 40% of the honors level bursaries? Well, we are now defining two additional types of institutions. The first of these would be a so-called co-host institution. A co-host institution is ideally an institution that is located geographically close by to a host institution and for all intents and purposes jointly hosts the NASSP program in terms of providing real resources to making the program happen by way of computing infrastructure, admin support, IT support, but ultimately also and especially teaching support. So we're saying that a co-host or an institution has to contribute a minimum of 20% of the running costs of a program at the host institution before it will be designated a so-called co-host institution. And in return then, there will be a certain maximum number of honors level bursaries that will be allocated to the co-host institution. This means then that students will be registered at the co-host institution. We think of a number of order 4 or 5 honors level bursaries allocated to the co-host institution, and then those students will be recruited by the co-host institution and registered at the co-host institution, subject to them being accepted by the NASSP Students Selection Subcommittee. Those students then obviously will graduate with a degree from the co-host institution, and there is a requirement that the degree certificate will carry the names of all of the institutions in the entire NASSP consortium at the tail end of the degree certificate. So that in a nutshell is what a co-host is. That is a different entity from anything that we've had in the past. In addition to this, in addition to the host and co-host institutions, we're defining a so-called partner institution. Partner institution is somewhat less well defined. It is an institution that partially contributes to the hosting of a program, perhaps by way of having one teacher being assigned to teaching at the host institution, and in return there might or might not be 1 or 2 honors level bursaries allocated to the partner institution. Of course, when one teaches at the host institution, you have the distinct advantage of being able to attract a student into your master's level program back in your home institution. So various universities are encouraged to participate, if not as a co-host, then certainly as a partner institution, because the real benefits that accrue by way of attracting master's level students back into your home institutions, and we encourage that very strongly. So that, in a nutshell, really is the basic structure of the program that we are proposing. A draft constitution will be circulated to the South African astronomy community through the SA Astronomers list server that is hosted at SAAO, and I will be asking specifically for feedback. I hope that you will consider this as an extremely important matter, that you will give this attention and discuss this within your departments, within your institutions, try to get the support of your deans and your deputy vice chancellors, because in the long run we do want a stable system, a system that enjoys the support of the broad South African community, and one that we can take to our funders at the Department of Science and Technology, but also to European and American sources of funding, so that we can secure the requisite funding that is absolutely essential for us to grow this program. NASSP, after all, is really going to be always a temporary intervention. Our ultimate goal is to, through the NASSP program and through other interventions as well, to develop the critical mass that is absolutely essential at many of our universities way beyond the Western Cape, deep into Africa, so that ultimately we are able to mount our honors level and master's level teaching programs at a sufficiently high standard to be able to grow our cohort of scientists, next generation of scientists that will make best use of the growing opportunities that are coming our way because of the SKA and SALT and hopefully the CTA. Thank you very much for your consideration. Bye-bye now.